Journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
7:09, on to the final hour of the Situation Room this morning. Herman Manyora, political analyst, is still our guest here. NCT, just to remind, how much do you need to go for a comprehensive medical checkup at the Aga Khan University Hospital or its clinics?
Kenyan shillings, 9,950. Let me just simplify it. Kenyan shillings, 10,000. Remove 50 bob for fair.
Only.
9,950. That's it.
Yeah.
You get
Comprehensive medical checkup. That's it.
comprehensive.
Okay, let me underline it in red, circle it in green. Comprehensive.
But 10,000 will be what you'll pay for just one test.
No, here they've decided.
There are tests that I have done, which are 18,000, which are 10,000.
Yes. You see what happens, I think. By the time the Aga Khan University Hospital is coming up with this, I am certain that they've done their maths.
Okay.
They have figured it out, and they've said, look, we have the facilities, we have the facility. Remember,
it could also be an aspect of corporate social responsibility.
Yes, it could, because you see there is a need for a certain service. So what you do is you get the number crunchers, okay? The actuaries tell them, do this maths for us and tell us, what do we need to actually provide this service? Something that will be affordable and which will actually provide the service that is required.
Yes. Also remember, it's a checkup. It's mostly a checkup. It's like when you take your car for service and first they do a checkup.
Before they charge you for it.
Yeah. So they're checking, are the wheels wobbling? That tells you there's something wrong with that system. The tie rod ends, the bush, the rack ends, the tie itself. They can tell.
That becomes a poor analogy, Latin.
So they're doing all those
poor
things.
analogy.
So what they do, they're checking your blood pressure.
In the health.
They will not take you to MRI. It is that.
Actually,
MRI now is a secondary.
Yeah, I know
It
that.
is because something
detected a few
something
things.
has been detected. Wamekushekishek na maneno
Wakaona hii.
huyo thyroid ends imeisha. Acha tuone kama ni thyroid.
Enda
Acha
nunua
tufungue
thyroid.
mgungu.
actually, you see, a wellness checkup tells you the state of your health and also advises you on what to do next. Okay, because even when you go through some of the more comprehensive tests that require some very high-tech technology, after you've gone through it, you are then told
Now
this
what
is now
needs to
what
happen.
you then need to do.
But that is an important first step.
You really need that step because it is a very important pointer as to what ought to be done. Yes.
Now, after giving Herman two Maragoli proverbs,
Yes.
please remind us the African proverb and let's hear his interpretation.
Yes. Don't laugh at the fallen, for the slippery path is still ahead.
Don't laugh at the fallen, for the slippery path is still ahead. Herman, how would you interpret this one?
Yeah. It's true. Don't laugh at others because they have misfortunes. How sure are you yourself will not get the misfortune?
How sure are you that you're immune
Yeah, you are immune
to misfortunes?
Yeah. And don't actually the bigger message there is when people don't get into trouble, they don't always get into trouble because they are either reckless or stupid. So that may make you think you are clever. No. Oftentimes people get into trouble because of reasons beyond their control. And so it calls for empathy. That proverb calls for empathy. Yeah.
Now, Herman, one of the things that resulted from the Gen Z protests was the disbandment of the cabinet. So the president dissolved his cabinet. He said, I have dissolved the cabinet. Everybody go home, save for Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. And then a few days later, he nominated the first batch of 10, and then thereafter he nominated the others. The reaction from the public has been varied. There have been those who have said, no, surely, this whole thing is a sham. There are those that have said, well, yeah, some of these guys who have even been brought back, they performed well, and it's okay, they deserve to be there. The new names that have come in there, they sound like they are good, and maybe we need to give them a chance. The parliamentary committee is due to hand over its report to Parliament. It's expected to do that today, and then MPs will vote on this. But what is your vote? From the moment the president announced the first 10, and then announced again the second 10, and the final 2, What did you make of it?
You know, a vote presupposes they are candidates. So as far as I'm concerned and from where I sit or stand, there are no candidates. So how do I take a vote on non-existent candidates?
What do you mean?
You see, the whole thing must go back to the dissolution of cabinet. Because I'm one of the people who are on the far front of asking the president to do that. I'm not saying he did because of me, but I'm on record. I even did an open letter to him in my YouTube channel. And the reason why people dissolve cabinets at the times of crisis is to achieve something. It's always a very important step governments take at the point of crisis or instability. You dissolve. You want to send a message. That's why you do so. You are not dissolving cabinet because these guys are not performing. No. You are dissolving cabinet as a way of buying back the public you have lost. Okay? Mm-hmm. So it's a no-brainer that the confidence in the president is at its lowest, if any. Mm-hmm. People don't believe the president. People don't trust him. That is as bad as it can get for any government. So by dissolving cabinet, you are sending a message of hope. First, I have listened to you, I care, and I am prepared to change things. So when you come back with the same sort of people, then how can you ask me that there is a cabinet? There's no cabinet to talk about.
But even as you make nominations of that nature, there are utterances in the public domain. Say, Kwani, what is it that these people want? I have dissolved parliament.
Yes.
I'm sorry, not parliament.
Cabinet.
But it was a nice Freudian slip.
Mm.
Okay? Yes.
Yeah.
I have dissolved the cabinet. I have done this. I have done this. Exasperation. I have done so much. Is it an understanding that what they have done, in their opinion, is much? Yes, that is the opinion. It is a lot. But is it enough?
It's not a question of, I started by saying, it's not a question of their competences.
Yes.
At that point when you are dissolving cabinet, it's not about them performing or not performing. It's not about looking at who between those who are there did better. No. Mm. It is a movement to assuage the public. It is a movement to show the public that you feel them, you understand. Okay?
Yes.
And you want to take action. You want to change. Mm. It's not going to be business as usual from now onward. That is what it means to dissolve cabinet. Some kind of shock therapy. You get it?
Yes.
So then it ceases to be that the moment you return them back. You cannot return them back.
In fact, it is
not in our circumstances. The circumstances under which cabinet was dissolved would rule out completely returning even one of them back to cabinet, irrespective of how good they were. But in any case, I am not seeing anybody competent in that cabinet.
Even the new trend.
There may be one or two people who you could give a chance to one or two people. But the circumstances under which they have entered cabinet, when public confidence is at its lowest, when public has no trust in government, what assurance do I have my friend Opio and I will perform under those circumstances? But because public confidence is very important in public affairs. Mm. You get it? You require public confidence for you to deliver. Mm. So if the public doesn't have confidence in you. Secondly, how sure am I that the president will give these guys room to perform? Let's just isolate one.
Okay.
How sure are you it is Mbadi who will be running the treasury?
Why?
If you ask me, I will say I don't see it happening.
Are you saying Njuguna Ndongo was not running the treasury?
He wasn't.
Who was?
Some people would be running. So you'll find out homework. I'm a teacher. I give homework. Nafanya hii homework. Wakati watu walikuwa wanafanya budget treasury wakati ya Uhuru. Wewe unafikiri walikuwa wanafanyia budget hapo treasury? So I can't see how Mbadi can influence policy at the treasury. How? How can he? I can't see it. How?
The fact that you can't see doesn't mean you can't, does it?
He will not. We understand this country, my friend. Oh, we know this country.
So then
But let him surprise us.
So it didn't matter whether the president had brought a whole new batch of 22 new members to his cabinet.
Now that we know, we are now mixing two things.
We would not be sure whether those other external forces
let's
would
not
still
mix
be
two
running.
things. We are mixing two things. One is we are now talking about capacity. We had moved from the dissolution as a move, as a political move. We have now come to the technical aspect of capacity. Then I'm doubting whether any of them has capacity.
They have the capacity.
And even for the few who have, whether under the arrangement they are in, like those ODM people, they can actually perform. Now, when it comes to a new set of cabinet, it was going to achieve a political purpose. Okay? To convince the country that the president is serious. As to whether they would in the end perform or not, that will be another story. Because for you to perform, you must be given what is required for you to perform. In fact, from the word go, you must see the appointing authority as serious, as wanting you to work and perform. But many people are given assignments, and from the word go, you know, nobody intends that you perform anything. We kula mshahara, chukua allowances, na uende nyumbani.
Safiri.
Umeona watu wameenda EACC kama kina PLO. Wanafika huko wanajaribu kujifanya ati we want MPs to vet them, sijui wale wame false mileage, wanamwambia we didn't bring you here to work, go home. That plays it out in many of these other places, that you are appointed not to work. So those are the things we must now change.
So then, that means that on that one score, you, in your opinion, the president missed the mark.
Missed it by a wide margin.
Oh.
He needed to make the political score. Then these other issues he can deal with.
There's an argument, Manyora, that he actually made the political score.
He didn't. How?
That by this so-called broad-based government, by bringing the one person that he knows who has the capacity to snap a finger like this and mobilize, by having him pacified, and the political party that he leads also, sitting and they're making noise, but there's nothing much they can do. He has scored. And that's why he's now going around the country. He was at the coast. Now today he's going to central Mount Kenya. He has been there before. He's traveling around the country. And when he goes to that part of the country, people are welcoming and cheering him. I was asking this question the other day. Do you think this, pushback, the president missed the point, the president is tone deaf, the president... Do you think it's just an elitist conversation, an urban elitist conversation?
Sometimes, yes.
But in rural Kenya, people actually they're looking at these guys and they think, well, yeah, it's fine.
Let's start with scoring. And because C.T. Muga is a
teacher,
comes from the community where people sleep and eat football. Let's talk about scoring. C.T. Muga may not be as old as I am, but he must have been there when we had a man called Lidonde. Not the original Lidonde. The one who used to be told like akipewa penalty goalkeeper anasema
anaondoka.
Yes.
Not that one.
Anatoboa net.
Tony Lidonde, you know him?
Yes.
Not Elijah.
Yeah. FC, and later, before that, later, I think Abaluya. He played with Abaluya briefly, I think, but mainly FC.
Abaluya Football Club.
If he was not fielded, girls
there's a problem.
will kill the club manager, or you call them coaches. I'm not a football fan. And then it got to a point where when AFC is not scoring and is losing, he's anapelekwa ndani, like pretty much like Roger Miller.
Yes.
You remember?
Yes.
Popular crowd demand. And somehow they would score. Somehow they would change things. Roger Miller, remember? And then Tony Lidonde.
In fact, in Miller's case, it is the president.
Yes, who says, put that man down.
Miller was 40 years old at that time. Yes.
But it gets to a point, even that Roger Miller or Tony Lidonde, he can't even carry his weight. So it won't make a difference. That's why people like Raila are. Not by virtue of age, but the way they have played the game, they have come out badly.
Have they always come out badly, or is it now?
Now, they have survived the game for a while, but it has gotten to a point where they won't add much value. So if you are thinking by bringing Raila on board, you are safe. Then you are also have very bad news for you. it won't work for you. In fact, people just laugh at it. I was conducting some business in Kisumu last weekend, and take it from me,
There's disquiet.
not many people are convinced Raila has taken the right.
I want to ask you again.
Yeah,
so
not many.
the direct question, Herman,
Yes.
is this disquiet, is it popular?
Popular to mean that there are many people who are not happy.
Yes.
Of course. Of course.
Is it that a majority are not happy, or
Let us separate two things.
there are many people who are not happy,
Let us separate two
but
things.
a majority are silent, but they're happy, they're okay with either way?
Let us separate two things. Genuine concern that we are not doing well, leading to unhappiness and even anger. And voting perhaps as a result of the same. These two things are different. But if the concern, the unhappiness, the anger were to decide the voting, Ruto and Raila on one ticket cannot get 30% of Kenyan votes. So that's the mood in the country. It's that bad. However, when it comes to voting, other factors come into play.
They always
So
do.
we are aware of that. But if you are asking me whether Kenyans are genuinely unhappy or happy, the simple answer from the villages of this country, including where the president comes from, including where Raila comes from. Yesterday on television, I don't know which station, I rarely watch TV, there were boys moving in Kapsabet with those famous mipini, what do we call them in English, the long batons, those rungus, the ones for the djembe. They have become a uniform. They were in Eldoret, Kapsabet, Kakamega, and I think somewhere else. But there were people, more than them, condemning that and ready to fight them. You get it?
Yes.
Yet this is where the president comes from. They may have been talking about the governor. The same was in Kericho. You would have been surprised. I'm sure you must have been surprised at the reception of the Gen Z thing in Kericho, places like Kericho and Eldoret. And I took time to look at the crowds in Eldoret. Because one will be easy to dismiss that those people demonstrating in Eldoret during the Gen Z revolution were not the president's people.
Because
It was not true.
because Eldoret is cosmopolitan.
Yeah, that's what people say. Maybe they were Kikuyus, they were Lus, they were not. The overwhelming number of the demonstrators were young men and women from that community. So you get it. That should lead you to conclude, Eric, that people are not happy with what people can see things are not right.
Okay.
As to whether they can use that anger in 2027,
Drive change.
that is a different story. Because we live in this country and we know people can be very rational. Someone like Muga here can speak very good English and come up with very good discourse about this country. But when he retires into that booth, he becomes a Luo.
My voting patterns have nothing to do with my education.
Yeah, you see?
Absolutely nothing.
That's where the problem now
You
is.
go to your blood.
But now, that's now the danger. You see, the danger now is, CT,
Yes.
that because left on the dictates of democracy that will result into an election, people may not necessarily get change. This is now how I would advise the government, this is how people, opportunists, can take advantage of the situation for their own, towards their own end. People who know if they were to face Ruto and perhaps Raila, they may not succeed.
You know,
They can harness this revolution to their end. And that's why sometimes we have already said here that some of these revolutions end up producing nothing in terms of leadership and therefore bringing no desirable change.
I want to take you back to the end of the era of the Moi government after the president then had handed over power to Kibaki
Yes.
and was driving out of Uhuru Park and people threw mud at him.
I was right there.
You were there?
When history was being made, I was there.
Yes, exactly. Now, in the time when Moi was the president, I don't think anyone would have dared even conjure the thought that they would throw anything at us.
But they did it that time.
On that particular day, they did,
Yes.
because they knew he was no longer in power.
Yes.
In my mind, it is instructive. It's instructive in this sense. there were people who are tired of that government.
Yes.
And probably the numbers were many, because if you look at the crowd that was there that day, it also told you a story.
Yes.
Okay? Numbers that people could say had never been seen before.
Yes.
Now, when we hear, when we read, when we see people, predominantly young, youthful people coming out, and the message seems to be the same.
Yes.
It's a manifestation of the same. The only difference is that this president is still in power. He has not left.
Yes.
So nothing is being done upon his departure. Let me go back to the question I asked. In full view of the entire world, with an intelligence service that informs you in greater details about these things, yet we see the questions Eric and his two compadres asked when they went for the interview. What is it that makes people, because it's not now one person, miss all this? You're seeing it. It is clear. Things that you never thought would happen, they're happening. We're not accustomed to presidents being told off in public. We are seeing it. We're not accustomed to presidents being booed in public. You're seeing it. Because there was a build-up. Yes. It didn't happen. There was all this build-up. You happen to be in power, conjoining powers, you still don't see it. That really is what bothers me.
No, it shouldn't bother you. Look, you can explain it. First, power, we have said here, can completely confuse many people. It takes a very strong character to handle power or success. You've seen people running across the field, Boston Marathon, they make millions, and these dollars destroy them. Handling money. Handling success is not easy. So you can explain it by way of just what power would do to an individual. Secondly, when the people are fighting to get to power, they are supported by people. The people who support people to become presidents or prime ministers don't do it because they love them. They do it because they have interest to pursue. And they can also leverage on their power to ensure you deliver on what you promised. It's not like you can get there and forget. If they want business, if they are the ones bringing Adani to do the airport, you can't deny them. And they have the dollar. So that's another reason. Another reason is the simple one of looking at the next election. And therefore, there are those things you can do and those you must avoid if you are going to win the next election. But the bigger problem, like I've said this morning, we live at times when there are powerful forces across the world, domiciled in Europe and America especially, bit of it even in China, out to dominate the world, out to recolonize the world, out to destroy the world in the way we know it today, and even people with experiments on human beings. You know, they are powerful people. We don't need to mention them. They'll come and sue KTN, Standard Group, and you know the things they are doing, including things like GMO and in the health sector, all manner of things. Sometimes you have had their support to gate power. Sometimes, and I'm not talking about Uhuru Kenyatta, Ruto, or Jomo Kenyatta, or Kibaki, or Moi. I'm just talking, and I'm not even talking about Kenya. Sometimes it's good to have a powerful man in charge of a country.
What powerful means?
Where powerful means he can stand on his own. A man who requires little support from outside to win an election. A man who has an organic support of the people. Such a man these forces may find it a little harder to manipulate. But when you have people ascending to power because of the support of these forces, I want to call them evil forces, I think then the country is in trouble. He has to play ball. First, to ensure he remains in power. 2, to get re-elected. But 3, even to be safe. There are some people you don't double cross. You know
Let's
that.
take a break. 28 minutes to 10. Herman Manyora, political analyst, is our guest this morning. We are looking at the goings-on in the country. The CS vetting. We expect the parliamentary committee to table its report today. Tomorrow is Nane Nane. The youth have said they want to come out again onto the streets tomorrow. Nane Nane, another round of demonstrations. How safe are they? What are the security measures? The acting IG of police says we are prepared. If we are peaceful, there'll be peace.